I think we're in.
We're good? Did we get everybody over? Hold on. Let's take a peek. Okay.
Missing Mr. Oliver.
We're missing Dale?
Yes.
Okay.
Christina, who's moderating? Is Sebastian's not here?
He is not. Dan is moderating.
Okay, all right. And looks like the attendees then have already been have entered the meeting. It looks like. Is that correct, Dan?
Yes, I'm not as smooth an operator as Sebastian, so
Okay.
we're started.
Let's give Dale a moment to try to join in here.
I see somebody listed on the D.E. Almer. Is there a chance Dale clicked on the wrong link to join us? I don't know.
I see Scott Mall has offered to go over to Dale's house and says, thanks, Scott. That's anybody has his number handy. I'll give him a call. He may have logged into the wrong side.
Are you calling him, Dave? I have his number.
Yeah, do you want to send it to me in chat?
Did you guys see Fred's comment in the chat? It looks like he didn't get the link either. But can we not forward him ours because are ours individualized?
I think he can use ours. He just has to change his name once he signs on.
Okay, Dale's going to try to call in. He's having well, substantial issues with his, I guess because of the rain and whatnot. So, but he is going to try to call. So we should see that pop up momentarily.
Did you hear what Sue said, Dave, that Fred doesn't have the link? Oh, Christina sent it to him. Okay. Got it.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and I'm assuming that you're well aware, we're a half hour behind. And when I
Yeah.
look at the participant list, we got 94 people from the public. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just mentioning.
Yeah, no, I know, Bill. I see that, and I think Dale's having trouble just getting out of from up there in Route 87. So let's go ahead then. We'll open the meeting, and hopefully he can log in here momentarily, at least by phone. So with that, so welcome folks to this special meeting of the Montoursville Area School Board of Directors on this September 29th at 7:32 p.m. Huge apologies for the delay, for taking so long. We had legal consultation and executive session prior to this because the topic did require some guidance from council on it. The purpose of the meeting then is to discuss and consider spectator levels at the, in particular at our athletic events, and of course, football games is the most, not the most important, the one of most concern because that typically draws the most attendees, and how do we manage those numbers? the special meeting only deals with that spectator issue, that number issue. There's no other topics that or items that will be considered on this agenda. There's as far as the public comment session, the public comments have to be limited to the agenda item, and the agenda item is the spectator level. Now, that being said, I want the public to know too that on this Thursday at 7 o'clock, there'll be another special meeting of the board, a webinar meeting, and the topic and the agenda item for that meeting will be the reopening plan for the district in terms of having full-time education. So that, again, that's this Thursday, the 1st at 7 p.m. via webinar. So you'll have plenty of opportunity at that meeting to talk about that particular topic. So again, tonight we're just going to limit comments to the spectator level issue. So with that, I guess we know where we stand in terms of what we've heard about the governor's mandates on levels of crowds for indoor activities and for outdoor activities. We know about the 25 and 250 ruling. We know we've heard about the judge's ruling in Western PA on how that tentatively maybe has some impact on what those levels mean. We've heard what the PIAA said about that. We have guidance, we have some opinion or thoughts have been rolled out by the governor since that decision from that federal judge. We've also seen the legislation that was not veto proof regarding spectator sizes. I guess we've got a muddy issue here to deal with, and with that, I'll just open it up to well, I guess before we start to deliberate it, let's. I guess this will be we don't have an agenda in front of us, so I guess this will be the time for the public comment. I've made it clear what the agenda item is, and so I guess at this point we could open it up for public comment. We'll limit the public comment to 3 minutes. We won't really be engaging in a question and answer session on this one. It's a single issue. So with that, if you would like to make a comment on this topic, then you can raise your hand. I haven't seen how it's done. I hope on your side, folks out there, you can see the little button where you can raise your hand to offer a comment. And as Principal Dan Tormino is running the technology side of it tonight, when he sees your hand being raised, I guess he clicks on that and that lets you in to make a comment. So please limit your time to 3 minutes, and again, stick with the topic for tonight, because we've got the much more important topic coming on Thursday night.
Okay, so our first is Phil and Kelly Young. I will now let them enter.
Hello all, this is Phil. I would just like to say thank you all.
Go ahead.
I know that you're in a tough situation here, and as you said, Dave, it is kind of muddy. But I just would like you to know that from my perspective and a lot of others that I'm friends with, that we feel like the stadium is certainly sufficiently large enough and sufficiently separated from the visitor side and the field of play that I think common sense would say we could easily accommodate significantly more than 250 folks in that venue. And at the same time, I also feel very similarly about the size of the gymnasium and the fact that, this is also something that while we don't have girls volleyball like some other schools, you ought to give some thought to what would be a common sense way to handle the gymnasium and the amount of indoor restrictions of 25 as well. But since we're primarily talking about football, I hope that you guys know that there's a large majority of us who think that there certainly is lots of extra room, that we can fit more than 250.
Thank you, Phil.
Looks like Misty Emick is next.
Hi guys, I just have a quick question for you. What are the capacity limits for the stadiums and for the gymnasium?
We believe the stadium's around 3,700, not sure of the gymnasium.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Thank you, Misty.
Okay. Caroline.
Principal Tormina is having a little technology trouble tonight too himself. So Dan, how about I'll tell you who I'm seeing, and if you just would click on that and let them in, just I guess follow my lead on that. So Caroline, and I forgot to I failed to mention that. Would you tell us your name and where you live? That's, we always like that information for the sessions, public sessions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Caroline LaCrone, 1520 Fairview Drive. Obviously, we're all very disappointed about missing our kids' events and our community events. I mean, I go to different things that my kids aren't even in. We all pretty much, like to support our kids. My concern is that we haven't been able to have the entire band together yet. Is that something that you guys have already made a decision about, or because I know Mr. Tormina has talked about it, but our band hasn't been together yet, and they're important.
Caroline, I think that'll be part of the discussion then tonight with the board.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Dan, we have Phil and Kelly Young back with a hand raised. I think Phil still has some time left. So Phil, if you'd let Phil in.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I just had one other comment. I didn't know if you saw it, Dave, but you and Scott, I live at 116 North Lowesock Ave, so I'm in the borough. But I forwarded you an email with a posting that was on the District 4 PIAA District 4 site that basically said, as football moves into the postseason, as historically been done, the higher seed will host those games unless that school is not allowing visiting fans. So I wanted you to be aware of that as you look at making a decision about that if we don't allow some visiting fans, they will not allow us to host playoff games, at least for football.
Thanks, Phil. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dan Tormino and our athletic director are acutely aware of that. So but thank you anyway. Appreciate that.
Hey, Phil, this is Scott. I didn't see an email from you. I apologize.
Yeah, man, I saw it too, Phil.
while we're waiting to see if anybody else wants to speak, I just want to say, first of all, I can't believe we're having this conversation before we talk about getting the kids back in school. But with that being said, I believe that we should have our legal counsel give the public his recommendation on what he feels legally what we should do. Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Guy Metzger just texted me and said he'd like to speak, but he's muted. Can one of you take care of that and get him on?
Dan, if you know how to, I guess, set him free.
He's on the phone, he said.
Oh, okay. If I recall correctly, I believe Sebastian said you might not be able to comment by phone. I'm not sure. Dan?
It looks like I can, but we have two phone-in people,
Okay.
and
He
I don't know his number, and I don't think we want to give it.
He said *6 might work. He said
Does it start with 419 or 505?
Stand by here a second. $419.
Okay.
He just told me, so we're good to tell. Plus, he's a commissioner, so we can give it out. No, I'm just teasing.
I just want to say something here while we're trying to get through to that. This meeting is not for that purpose, Ron. There was no reason to say that. And let's just stay on task and let's deal with what's at hand right now. Thanks.
I disagree. There was every reason to say that.
No, that's not what we're here for. Okay?
Okay. All right. This has all been a matter of timing, a matter of sequence of events. So this isn't like the board decided that this was more important. This has all just been a matter of how the facts and everything has played out over the last several months. And we've had no control over hardly anything over the last several months. So, insinuations that this is more important, it just are wrong. So can we let Scott in?
I have, but he appears to still be on mute.
Okay, maybe we can figure it out in a little bit, but how about let's move down then, Dan, to Christine Conklin.
Hi, this is Christine Conklin, and I live at 15 Cedarwood Lane in Fairfield Township. I would like to follow up on my email that I sent out to everyone to express my great interest and great concern to have the spectator level brought up to speed in our stadium starting this week. I have been to a scrimmage, multiple JV games inside a stadium, and I've stood outside now for the third week of the stadium to see the team play. It is very, very frustrating to look at the large volume of space that is available for so many band kids to join in the stadium, for parents of not just the seniors or the high-risk players, but for the rest of the parents to be able to watch the team play inside the stadium, and for the cheerleading parents. If our stadium is true that it holds up to 3,700, I certainly believe that with being masked and sitting socially distanced at 6 feet apart, easily 700 plus just on our home side could be sitting in that stadium this Friday night. And that's not including the bleacher seating. It's not including possibly utilizing the space behind the goalposts. I just think it's time for our district to make a positive directional move toward allowing so many more people in. I don't have, an idea whether there'll be a certain number that you're tapping out, a percentage of capacity, but we have so much space that's being unused. And I think the band needs to get in there as a whole unit. And I think every student that is participating on any level this Friday night and every Friday night for the remainder of the season should be allowed to at least have one parent, two parents. And I think this really could be opened up to siblings, grandparents, other friends, family, and Montoursville fans. So I just wanted to go on the record to say it's time to open this up and get some people safely inside the stadium. It really can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Hey, Mr. T.
Yep.
Scott said *6. Is that not working for you?
I'm not sure where I would enter *6 in Zoom.
Hold on. Dave, you okay if I call Scott?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through my mic here. Let me see if I can get him on here. Hey, I'm gonna put you through on mine, okay? All right. Dave, let me know if you guys can hear him. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you for taking my call. I deal with these Zoom calls every day. Technology is wonderful when it's working. Apparently it's not on the phone here tonight on my end, or I'm not sure. But I have been advocating for, I've talked to Christine and Dave. I've sent Scott emails. I feel very strongly we need to get the kids back to some normalcy. And I believe you all agree. COVID's serious. We all agree. But at the same time, it's not as detrimental to our kids, and what we're doing, the consequences of what's going on with the kids is far more detrimental. I have parents calling me daily in tears from all different school districts that are on the virtual right now. They're being interrupted at work, trying to get their kids that are good students normally, that are trying to learn through the technology end of it, and it's not working for them. It's very difficult for them, and you're losing students, you're losing interest, and they're starting to act out. Remember when we closed down, the governor closed down.
Scott, would you remind us?
Scott, we're only discussing athletics tonight. That is the only thing we're on.
All right. Well, I'll call back in on Thursday regarding that. But regarding athletics, it goes hand in hand. And I agree with Mr. Snell. It's ridiculous that we're speaking about the athletics before we're speaking about the academics. We should be speaking about the academics first and then the athletics. But they're backwards tonight, and that's fine. But with that said, I voiced a week ago at a commissioners meeting that I totally disagree with what the governor is doing with sports. These stadiums are big enough. When I hear you have 3,700 people capacity in a stadium and you're going to put 250 people in there, you have that many people lined up along the fence on Mulberry Street that are on top of each other. And it's much more safe. It's more safe to put the people in the stands, the parents. The bottom line is parents know what's best for their kids, and they want to be there in every aspect of a kid's life. And they're entitled to that. They're raising their own children. And we have a responsibility, no matter what role you're in, to assist a parent in every possible way so that they don't miss out on that part of that child's life. That goes for band, it goes for chorus, it goes for sports, and it goes for clubs. These are very special times for those kids. They need their parents, they need their guardians in attendance. And God forbid, if a kid gets injured on a football field, they definitely need their parent in the stand. So I would strongly encourage you, and I understand the position the governor has taken. I deal with him every day. And whether, I'm not going to get into politics, but the bottom line is we need to make decisions what's best for our kids. and the state is starting to do that across the board because this has gone on for 6 months, we can do so safely. A parent can come sit in stands with a mask on and sit 6 feet away, and you can get more than 250 people in that stadium. Royal Soccer drew a plan up for their stadium. They could put 700 people in their stadium. You folks can do the same thing. You know the capacity of the stadium. You can sit there and say, this is what we're going to sell tickets. This is what we can do for our seniors right down the line, the band parents, the parents, and have that opportunity for those parents to be there and not miss out on that opportunity in that child's life, and that child having that opportunity to share that with their parent. So I would hope that you recognize that. You're all parents. You've all been there. You would not want to miss your sports or your child or any other activity. And we can do this safely. There's been one child in the hospital and the 5 regional hospitals in UPMC since March. One child has been hospitalized. That's a fact. I talked to the director of UPMC today. It was back in the spring. One child. And we're shutting down everything. We need to get things open safely and cautiously. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, Dan, I see Pamela Nelson. Would you let her in?
Hi, Pamela Nelson, 225 Bennett Street. My only question, just when you're discussing numbers and things, I know with the last game, they let, parents of seniors and certain students and whatever in, even in looking at increasing the numbers, as far as how that's going to look, is it still going to be a ticket to students' families basis, whether it be, all players, all band members, all cheerleaders versus just by grade or trickling down from 12th grade down, however it's going to be? Or is it going to be open to the public up until you hit capacity and then therefore, some parents may or may not get in to see them anyway? Just an answer to how that's going to look when you are looking at, if you are looking at increasing numbers, just so you can tell us how that's going to work, so that we know as parents, if there is an option or if it's just a general public up to capacity, whatnot, on that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pam. And Pam, that'll be part of the discussion that follows. Okay, at this time, I'm not seeing any more hands being raised. So with that, Board, we'll move forward with our part of this. And the first thing is, if we have concluded that the governor's order is what rules the day, we don't really need to have a motion. We already have a plan in place in which the ticket distribution has been worked out, and that would, I assume, would stay in place. So really what we're after is, are we looking at finding a safe, secure way to increase that threshold in some form or fashion? And with that, open the floor for discussion and on how you might like to see it go.
Mr. Schimmel?
Yes, Scott.
Mr. Conkle here. I'd like to make a motion that we supply each football player, each band member, each cheerleader 2 tickets, and supply the visiting team with 60 tickets and move forward from there.
We have a motion on the floor.
I second that.
We have a second from Dr. Berry. Discussion on it?
Yeah, I, a few minutes ago, suggested to get the legal opinion from our solicitor and have yet to hear it. I was hoping we could get that before public comment so the public knows what our legal counsel recommends. And that I have yet to see that happen.
I gave my legal opinion to the board in executive session. It's attorney-client privileged, and that it should not be shared with the public, in my opinion, unless the board as a whole decides to waive the attorney-client privilege.
So we have the motion, we have the second, we're continuing discussion. We have, I'll characterize it for the public. Essentially, it's proceed cautiously, board, with whatever you do, because these are dangerous waters these days. That's my interpretation. We have to be very careful about anything we do, any decisions we make tonight. There are implications, and we understand that. We know it full well. But the solicitor has spoken, and I think he's right.
My interpretation is a little bit different than yours. My interpretation was that he recommends to follow the governor's guidelines for outdoor assemblies being at 250.
And that would be perhaps the most, I guess, the safest from maybe a liability standpoint or a finger pointing standpoint or something like that. But with a stadium that can handle the thousands of people, we can do this safely. So we have a motion, we have that second. Additional discussion. I would have a question on terms of if we, well, I guess we haven't really set a number on the tickets are going to work out to be what the tickets are. So I guess that's the bottom line. We have approximately 200 students that would be getting a pair of tickets, somewhere in that neighborhood, I believe. And then we would be giving 60 to the visiting team. That'd be 400 tickets, I'm sorry. With 200 students, roughly 400 tickets would be distributed.
And I guess
432 to be exact. That would be 432 tickets to be exact.
And I guess I would just like to say that, after listening to the comments of people wanting more than that and wanting the community in, et cetera, I think the board, we do have to be cautious. We do have to make sure that we can maintain adequate social distancing. And when you look at that, our capacity, you can't just divide that by a percentage. You have to realize that it's 6 square feet around each set of parents that you have to maintain. So that does limit the amount of people that you can put in the stadium. So we hear the parents, we understand, we want the parents there, we feel for that. And, are we taking a risk, maybe a little bit of a liability risk because of what the governor states? But we're willing to do that. So I guess I would ask for public support in this situation and understanding on where we're coming from.
Mr. Schimmel.
Yes, Mr. Ruffing.
As we spoke earlier, you know where I stand on this, and so do the rest of the board members. Ultimately, I would argue for 50% capacity, just like indoor restaurants, realizing that we cannot put 1,800 to 1,900 spectators in the stadium and maintain social distancing. That makes that unfeasible. However, Mr. Taormina earlier mentioned a total of 700, and he just gave us the number of spectators, 432. And when you count up those on the field, we hit our 700. Unfortunately, like Dr. Mathers said, our hands are tied on this, and they're tied by the senselessness that comes from our governor. And yes, we do put ourselves at a level of liability. I have a difficult time voting in favor of anything less than 25% capacity. However, my vote will be whatever the highest number is that we can get. But let's keep in mind, we do have neighboring districts that are taking the risk, and they are letting more in. And we know that, some as many as 1,000. And no one that I've talked to, including my fellow board members and the administration, has heard of any repercussions on that so far. I'm a risk taker, but I would not do so at the expense of the school district and its taxpayers. So my thoughts on this are, I will vote for the highest number that we can get. Thank you.
Dan, a question for you. I believe if I understand correctly, the plan will be to have the full band in one end zone. Is that what the thinking is at this point?
Yeah, we would move the band down to the track area at one of the end zones to allow for more spectators in the stands to be able to socially distance themselves.
Okay.
I just want to say, I am not, and I repeat, not against sports. I am not against more people in our stadiums. However, if we are going to go by numbers and mandates for education, then we should be going by those same numbers for sports. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need to be doing things straight across the board, not picking and choosing where we're going to follow guidelines, where we're going to follow mandates, and where we're going to look at numbers.
Okay, board, if there's no more discussion on this, then we have the motion then for 2 tickets for each cheerleader, 2 tickets for each football team member, and 2 tickets for each band member. And they it's theirs, I guess, essentially to take the family, hopefully family. One of the ideas behind this is to get families together in these events. I mean, in these activities, to get the families, bring them together. So we have also on that is 60 tickets going to the visiting team. So if that's settled in your mind, folks, Brandy, yes, there you are, Brandy. Would you take a roll call vote on this, Brandy?
Certainly, Mr. President. Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Dr. Beery,
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Dr. Mathers,
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing,
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes.
Mr. Snell, Mr.
Ron,
Snell,
You muted, Ron.
No.
Okay, and Mr. Ulmer wasn't able to make it in, so, okay, the motion passes. And just a reminder to the public, social distancing will absolutely be in place. We have security folks that are going to be very reminding of people that you got to keep your distance, unless you're family members, obviously sitting together, and the masking at all times. That just has to occur. There's no wiggle room on that, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, I guess. I think that this was the only topic for the night. I don't know that a comment session after the action is needed, or solicitor, is there a comment session for the public after this action or not?
There does not have to be, no.
Okay.
But I think there should be. I think there's a lot of people that would like to comment.
All right, we can do that, and it'll be, again, a comment session. I don't know what kind of, I saw some chat questions popping up and about siblings and things like that, and look, we can only go so far on this. We've really pushed a limit in some ways by doing this, but we think we're doing it safely with minimal risk, minimal liability, with the most protection for our people, for our families, for our kids. So you can only extend this so far, and I think we've done what we think we can do in terms of pushing the envelope. I would say I suspect that when some of these rulings get more attention down the road that we've heard about, we may be changing our course too. Who knows what the future will hold for us? So.
Yeah, Mr. Schimmel, I just saw the comment from Mr. Bennett. I mean, I'm willing to have this be a first. I mean, I don't think any of us really visually know what this is going to look like. So, I mean, I'm willing to consider this an evolving thing, that if people aren't using both their tickets, if, you know, the opposing team saw, you know, so I mean, I think it was just asked if we would be willing to revisit this. I mean, if the visual appearance is that the stadium is still really bare, I would be willing to consider potentially boosting that number up a little bit, you know, per Mr. Ruffing's.
No, I agree, Sue. You know, if there's anything we've learned in the last 6 months, nothing's staying the same, and everything's changing, and even the rules are being changed on us with regularity. So we're just gonna have to sort of go with flow and see what we can make of this. I think we're all in favor of making this as much as we possibly can for our families and fans. So, okay. Dan, we have Christine Conklin has her hand up. Would you like Christine offer some comments? And again, we'll limit those comments to 3 minutes. And if you haven't commented yet, would you please tell us where you're from?
Hi, thank you first for making the decision tonight to let the band back in, and at least all the students to have their parents there. I really am appreciative of the decision to do that. In thinking of others, I just would like to ask if you could possibly rethink the number of 60 tickets for the other team, because fortunately for us, like, we're the home team this Friday night, but at some point, all of us will be getting back on the road. And in thinking of the other team and their band, their parents, and their players, is there some additional thought there on how we can accommodate guests coming to our stadium? Because at some point, all of us will be traveling again and being the visitors. And does that mean, you know, the opposing team cheer and band will not be allowed to have their set of parents there? So could I just inquire about thinking on that level and maybe increasing that number so our guests can be as accommodated as we are? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Christine, the number 60 comes more or less from what we've seen. The other teams typically bring maybe 30-ish players plus or minus, and that was just basically a very ballpark figure to come up with 60. So that's how that worked out.
And I would just add to that, the other schools in PHAC aren't providing or aren't traveling with their band and cheerleaders. So it's just football that's traveling at this point throughout the league.
Thanks for that clarification, Dan.
Will we be charging for these tickets?
We haven't yet. I just don't see you know, we've kind of pretty much said that it's sort of a lost cause, if you will, this year to try to figure out some way to equitably charge and make it. So we haven't. I mean, that's an item that is, we haven't adjourned it. It's an item that's part of this conversation. I mean, if somebody's willing to, you know, wants to charge and wants to make that motion, but at this point we haven't been charging for any of these events.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes, sir.
some of the residual damage that's been done here has affected our student groups who normally run the concession stands. They have also lost funding that they're accustomed to receiving from our home games. That money is substantial. I would ask if there would be interest in charging the usual amount to go into the game. I don't think, you know, $5 is you know, excessive. And I would want to take that, since we've already lost, you know, our revenue this year for sporting events. If we could not take that ticket revenue and distribute it to those sports teams and student organizations that normally would receive the funds from the concessions. If the school district is willing to forego that admission fee, then maybe we could collect it and give it to those groups who certainly could use it. Thank you.
I like that idea, Bill.
How about a voluntary contribution? You might get more than that per person that comes in. Just, you know, have a donation bucket there for when they come in, rather than charge per ticket.
I see a good point in the comments, though, that if people are being financially hit by COVID, so yeah, I like maybe a voluntary, so that those that can contribute, and it is a donation to these student groups. I like that idea.
I would agree with Dr. Mathers. A lot of people have been negatively affected financially, and maybe a voluntary donation would be more in line. Thank you.
I would agree to that.
So would that just essentially be would the booster clubs be out there in the one area, the one green area inside the gate at a table asking for donations? Is that how we'd more or less let that play out, or?
Can I just, the concessions lost are only the band, so this donation would be for the band.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, that they're the ones that, who else does fundraising during the games, Dan?
The Booster Club does a 50-50.
Who gets the ticket sales, Dan?
The district.
With more fans coming in, is there a reason they couldn't start up their 50-50 again? I mean, I don't think we're restricting them from doing that, are we?
Are they touching the paper tickets, though?
Well, that is nowhere in the health and safety plan. Yeah, I don't know. You're exchanging stuff. If that's what you want to do, we can do that. That's one of the reasons we're not having concessions. We haven't charged because of the exchange of cash and tickets. And
I would just make it a donation, so the person isn't winning their 50%. They're donating it, and the group is keeping all the proceeds.
Have somebody sit there with a 5-gallon bucket after the game, put the bucket in quarantine for the appropriate time.
that appropriate time is 72 hours. It's been determined.
I don't think
You
it is
could.
for
How are
money,
you
Dan.
splitting? How are you splitting the? I mean, I'm just thinking now. Everybody that comes through that gate, choirs there. I guess you have more groups than what I'm thinking. Choirs there. They're selling sweatshirts. I'm not sure where that goes to. Choir sells pretzel nuggets. How are you dividing up the people who are donating?
Could you give each group one night to have the donations? How many home games do we have left?
Or just every game divided evenly by the number of groups that would normally be involved in some kind of fundraising.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
It's Scott. I'm just making a comment for Scott Metzger. He's saying we're talking about the $5 for the ticket, but only the school district to raise taxes, so charge the $5. That's coming from Scott Metzger, just so you're aware.
Scott, could you repeat that? He said what?
He's saying charge the $5 because the school district's going to raise taxes, basically, is what he's saying. So basically put the money to the district is what I think he's saying.
But then again, you're exchanging money back and forth, which is why Dan said we weren't charging for tickets. Lots of hand sanitizer we would be buying.
You're exchanging money everywhere you go. I don't think the football game should be any different.
Yeah, I agree, Bill.
I want to make a motion that we charge $5 a ticket. And keep in mind, Mr. Schimmel, before we take the vote, we'll have to open up for public comment again. If I get a second.
The motion appears to have died for lack of a second. The if we have a bucket for voluntary donations, and then after it sits for 3 days or whatever the heck it is, or after Dan fogs the thing, we split it between the groups that have traditionally done fundraising during the football games. I mean, that seems pretty clean. It's less than optimal. It's just, it's really, in some ways it's token, because I would, if we get $500 donated, I'd be shocked. So it's token money. It's a nice gesture, but it won't be a substantial amount of money for any one of the groups. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. So I'm game for some approach like that. Just do it on a donation basis with a bucket and split it amongst the groups. Whoever was raising funds last year, Dan's mentioned 3 of the groups, I believe, they'd be there this year raising funds. We're just going to divvy it up between all 3 of them equally. And it's just a way of saying, we're going to help however we can.
Is it too mean to make the opposing team tickets a different color and charge them $5 and that money go to the district and everyone else makes a voluntary donation? I don't know.
That's good, Sue. You're a real businesswoman. But Dave.
Yes, Bill.
We would could we maybe go to the art class and make sure that we could have a couple of signs made up so that it is quite clear to those who would be willing to give a donation where the money is going.
That's a
Thank
good idea. Yeah, make it look nice, cool letters, you know.
I think those groups would be, I'm sure they've got all kinds of folks who are just talented and, you know, able to make it very obvious, you know, where these donations are going to go. So, yeah, that's, and Dan, if you would, if this is what the board thinks would be a good thing to do and it's acted on, if you could shepherd that along. And of course, many of the group leaders are, these groups leaders are listening in right now anyway.
Dave, we have a
The
couple hands up.
groups that are going to benefit from donations, art club would be mine.
Sorry, Dean, broke up pretty badly on that.
I said that one of the groups, or the groups that are going to benefit from the donations, they should be the ones to make the signs rather than taking from the academic day and having art classes make a sign, if that would be okay.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. Yeah. So this donation approach is a change from what we would historically do. Is the board interested in you know, considering a motion on this? And if you are, we're going to open up the floor for public comment on this topic. If this is just an issue that is going to go nowhere, then so be it.
Dave,
Yeah.
I would like to make the motion to go forward with that plan.
Yeah. Okay. So Bill, what I want you to do here in a minute is you've expressed interest in some plans. So let's we're going to open up the for public comment on the idea of donations, you know, in lieu of ticket sales, you might say. So
You need a second first.
well, yeah. Do we want public comment during a actual motion, Fred? He's expressed interest in it, so I'm taking off from that and saying, okay, Bill's interested in seeing this happen, but I'm going to come back to him and say, now give us your motion, Bill, because we're going to get public comment on, you know, he may hear some things in public comment that might actually change the substance of his motion. That's what I'm getting at. So would that be acceptable to approach it that way?
No, I think you should do it the same way you did with Mr. Snell's motion. If it's moved and seconded, then it's on the agenda. There's certainly the opportunity to amend after the fact.
So the amendment, where's public comment going to occur then, Fred?
Right after the second.
Okay, all right. Okay, then, Bill, can you verbalize what your motion would be then?
Sure, Dave. I move that we, in lieu of a required $5 admission charge to our football games, that we request a voluntary donation, and we make it quite clear with signage as to exactly where that donation would go, who that would benefit.
And I'll second it.
Okay, let's let the public comment, and then board, after public is complete with their comments, we'll have our own comments and discussion. So Dan, I see Pam Nelson wishing to comment on this approach.
Hi, Pamela Nelson again. I just have a few questions. As far as the donations, if you do something like that, is deciding if it's going to be like each organization has a bucket and people decide which organization they want to donate to, or if all the money is just going into a general bucket and then the school is going to split it up. You know, like in other words, there's a bucket for chorus, there's a bucket for band, there's a bucket for cheerleaders or whatever, and people donate You may find people do more that way anyway. They might throw 5 in each bucket, or 2 in each bucket, however, or if you're just gonna have one general bucket and then it gets split up. And then my second question is, all these groups definitely are losing money regardless, but being on the band boosters, I know we were trying to figure out what was gonna happen if you did open up to more people. The concessions definitely are not opening as far as what they were or are, but I know we were going to be inquiring if we could put up like a pop-up tent just to sell sealed snacks such as cans of soda, bags of potato chips, whatever. You know, I know some of the groups sell like sweatshirts, blankets, things like that. You know, assuming that each of these parents are going to have tickets to get in anyway, that we could, is that still going to be a possibility? We're definitely not going to be making the money we would have made with normal concessions, but we were just trying to hope to recoup some of that. Or will that be a no-go anyway? Just trying to figure out how this is all going to work. So if, again, what you were looking at as far as donations, and that's all fine and nobody's going to turn that down, but what that's going to look like. And then if we still can try to do what, again, concessions for band in some sort, but a very minimal version of what we would have. And I know some of the other groups did do, you know, again, not baked goods and things, but the ones who sold other things, if they're going to have those options available or not. Thank you.
Pam, we'll take up the concessions idea after this motion. We'll limit this motion to voluntary donations in lieu of tickets and the distribution of that. So I see Scott Mall has his hand up. Dan.
Good evening, everybody. Yep, Scott Mall, 169 Katzmeyer Road out here in Elder Township. Appreciate everything that everyone's doing there. You guys are earning your money tonight, so I greatly appreciate your time and efforts that you're putting into it. The only comment I think I would have is, and maybe it's been thought of, but you know, having a daughter in soccer and a son in football, obviously I'm getting the experience of going to multiple school districts. And I like having more people in attendance, especially the band folks and maybe all the cheerleaders and everything there. But the one thing that I guess it concerns me is, you know, our community is, you know, we know is a very, very good community to live in. We've got great people here in our community, but unfortunately we can't control other people in other communities. So my thought or question is, have we given any thought at all to potentially having visitors come in a auxiliary gate, maybe our other gate that we used years ago, and having it roped off where they're only sitting on their side and not sitting on the stadium side and not abiding to our 6-foot distances and things like that. You know, the only thing that I could come up with that is a downside to that is obviously you have a restroom issue. So maybe there would be a porta pot issue or could be brought in for that. But just throwing it out there, if we could have tickets, free tickets where visitors go one way and go a different direction, keeping those two communities completely separated. Maybe that would cross boys and girls soccer and things like that also. Just some thoughts. Thank you for your time.
But I think, I mean, the visitors, if they're sitting on the other bleachers, the security guards would still enforce the social distancing, correct? I mean, they'll still all need to have masks on and all need to be an appropriate distance, right? Or it'll be trespassing. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah. Thanks, Scott. Those are some good thoughts on that. I was someone sitting behind me at a junior high game the other night was really getting on my nerves because they were from the other school. They had a loud voice and their language wasn't exactly the best I've ever heard. And it was beginning to irritate me. I'm glad the game ended too. So I get what you're saying.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
I have again on the phone. Okay.
Say again.
I have Scott Metzger again on the phone here.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, everyone, again for working together tonight. Scott Moll hit it on the head. You guys, this is a thankless job. I understand. Like I said, a lot of this stuff's been given to you by the governor, which is out of your control. When we opened up the Little League this year, we were also criticized, but we did it. We had a COVID plan moving forward. Christine, you have a very good idea with having concessions sold. We did the same thing. You can sell bottled water. You can sell anything that's pre-wrapped and things that are unsealed. And we were able to bring in some substantial money to help the Little League that way. We didn't get our regular concessions, but we at the same time were able to raise enough money to at least pay some of the bills. So that's an excellent idea, and it can be done. So again, thank you for voting the motion through to get the parents in the stadium. I believe it's a good start. I don't think that you're stretching the limit too far. I like to see it personally a little bit more, but you're heading in the right direction. Regarding the $5, I think the parents should be charged. It's $5. They're willing to come and pay. Again, I remind you, and I'm sure you've heard this, this is a COVID year. You're the only school district in the county that raised school taxes that has left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. I understand you have a lot of expenses. At the same time, we're having a discussion about a $5 fee here for parents that want to see their kids. They'll pay it. You have visitors now coming to our field, and again, are they going to be given a free ticket? And lights are on. There's bills that need to be paid. So I would recommend that you not go along with this motion of the donations, that you charge the normal $5. You stick to your policy, move forward, charge everybody the $5 to get in, and expand on that as you can when regulations change, when things start to get better through the COVID. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Dan, we have Caroline has her hand raised.
Hi, this is Caroline. Mr. Metzger, I respect you wholeheartedly, and I think you know that. But I feel like this is a little bit of a passive-aggressive political statement, couple statements that are going on here that don't necessarily have to do with our board of directors, these people here. I'm head of the concessions. Of course, we'd love to do anything we could to make money. I don't think we choose, like, it's not a popularity contest with football, cheerleading, chorus, and band. So I think that should go all together, because usually band makes the most, obviously, because we run both concession stands. And so I think it should be even, but the tone of this meeting has just gotten a little too carried away, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Dan, we have Scott Moll has his hand up, wants to speak again.
Sorry, yeah. Dave, I've had the exact same experience that you did, so that's why I brought it up. I also, even though we may have people going around asking people to put their masks up or separate, unfortunately, that creates a lot of tense moments in our communities. So we were just at Midwest last night, and as we came in a single gate, Midwest, very politely asked us to be sure that we stay on the visitor side. So I just believe you can't control their communities. If there's a way that we can keep those people separated, maybe that'll alleviate some tense moments when we do have guards and things like that going around. But I had the same issue today, and that's why I brought it up. Thanks again.
Thank you, Scott. Dan, we have Tiffany Hendry has her hand up.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Henry. I'm at 320 North Washington Street in the borough. And I just wanted to say that I do appreciate everything that y'all have done. But when we talk about concessions or where the money is going, and we argue about money being exchanged, it's no different than going to the grocery store. We have been exchanging money this whole time. Put a pair of gloves on, you're fine. I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own hand sanitizer in their pocket. You know, we've been going through this for months now, and I just feel these clubs have lost so much money, and especially with the band booster, they do so much for each of these children that I don't think people realize how much they really do. They do more than any other club does because they raise the most money. So I just feel that we're just being so overbearing with the concern when there's measures out there to protect us.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Mr. Schimmel.
Yes, Mr. Ruffing.
Yeah, I see the possibility of this carrying on till about 11:30 or so. We have a motion, we have a second. We certainly value all the taxpayers' comments. But let me ask, can we just agree that we vote on this motion now with the voluntary payment, making it quite clear who will benefit from, hopefully, your donation? We look at it, you know, we split the money evenly between clubs. We don't favor one over another. We look at it, if we did reasonably well, then we do it at the next game. If we didn't, then we go back to a $5 charge. But let's wrap this up.
Well,
Mr. Ruff,
you'll be happy to know. Hold on. You'll be happy to know there's no more hands raised, so we can move along now and with board comment and question and discussion on this motion. Good, Ron.
I was just going to remind Mr. Ruffing that by law, we have to give every community member the right to speak.
He knows that. He's just getting tired.
I realize he wants to hurry the meeting up, but it's the community's right to be able to speak.
This is comments on the motion at hand. So let's limit it to that. So, okay, I don't hear any more comments on that. So Bill's motion is that in lieu of ticket sales, we'll have a donation bucket. The proceeds will be split equally. There won't be 3 separate buckets. There'll be a common bucket or common buckets. It'll be benefiting the 3 groups. It'll be split equally among them. And that capture it, Bill?
Yeah, Dave, I think you've got it. I think you pretty well summed it up.
Okay, then. With that, then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Now, we had comments regarding the concession sales, and I think I'm okay with leaving this at a, and maybe the superintendent will say, no, Dave, you guys got to own this. But if this is something that can be worked out at a administrative level where, you know, no fresh foods, no open packages, you know, it's strictly pre-packaged goodies. That's it. I'd be okay with something like that, because the whole idea of handling the money, the young lady's right. We are handling money all the time. You know, so
it also becomes a.
Go ahead, Dan.
The other concern there, it isn't just the money. It becomes a gathering point. At halftime, people are going to go buy water, sodas, whatever. So you're going to have people ignoring social distancing, going to purchase these things under a pop-up tent. So it's not just money exchanging. There's more there. You're starting to eliminate and I know we do it at the grocery stores. We're going to stores, we're going to Walmart. I get all that, but I don't know that we need to contribute to that as well as a school district. We're talking about taking on some liability about going over the 250. The other issue is the need from the groups isn't there as much right now because we aren't traveling. Band did not go to Disney. Band should have some money in there for Disney left. They raise a lot of their money for the trips. They do a lot for the kids, for the seniors that are graduating. There should be a little bit left. The need isn't as great as it would be during a normal year. So I will just throw that out. If we do it for football, we also need to visit it for soccer and all the other fall sports at this point. And then we'll need to tackle it again. We're going to have similar conversations around winter sports, if and when those roll around. And who knows what the rules will be by then. So I'm glad we're reserving that conversation for a later date. So I'll leave it at that on my opinion on concessions.
That's why we appreciate your administrative and principalship, your insights, and you know it all, and we appreciate that. And with what you've said there, I think you've brought a lot of clarity to why we have to forego it this year. And so unless the board member wants to, bring that up as an item, I think we just dispense with that now, and we'll move on to, I guess, ready to adjourn, folks. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. Yeah.
Do we have a second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? I didn't think so. And reminder again, October 1st, 7 o'clock, we'll be having the most important discussion on a reopening plan. So please join that webinar Thursday at 7 o'clock. Thank you. Good night, folks.
Thank you all.